Senator Graham in the past on the Dreamers issue, and I hope that work continues. And I would start with what you said, Mr. Arthur, just about how we don't know yet how this is going to come down. And I do actually appreciate that Senator Durbin did this hearing, because I think we've got to start anticipating it and start having these discussions now. I personally don't want to have what happened last time when over a weekend I got, calls from a family in Lebanon who was ready to bring their little baby that they had adopted to the U.S. and were stopped practically at the airport with a little kid with a flag sweatshirt on. And we were eventually able, through officials in the past Trump administration, to get that baby adopted, and is now a thriving child in the U.S. And so Ms. Moran, so appreciate you being here and your strength coming forward. I believe there is a way we could do this right. I'm not certain how this is going to head, but I just want you to know that based on the work that was being done on a bipartisan basis at this last year, that there are people that want to get to this point where we get this order at the border, where we put the funding into enforcement, into things like Border Patrol agents. And this was legislation that I'm sure not everyone agreed with on both sides, but a proposed legislation that Senator Langford had negotiated that was supported by a number of people. And hopefully that can be at least a starting point for discussing it, even though it didn't go anywhere last year. And that was, increasing ICE detention capacity. It was looking at increasing border management. And I personally have taken a lot of grief for my support for COPS reauthorization and adding resources to law enforcement, which I think is so necessary with the fentanyl issues. But I think that there is a way. I note that in that agreement, that proposal that was made, as well as the proposal that Senator Rounds negotiated, that Senator Graham has been involved in the past on path to citizenship for Dreamers, on doing something about the temporary status people, on looking at people who have not committed crimes and what we can do to make sure our workforce is strong. I think there is a path here, and I'm just continuing to focus on where we can go. And I would ask you, Mr. Turi, and your story was moving in its own way. You've lived in the U.S. for 21 years. You're now married to an American citizen, have an 18-month-old son who's also a U.S. citizen. And I watched the president-elect's interview on Meet the Press this weekend, and he did talk about working with Democrats on the Dreamer issue, which I appreciated. But at the same time, then he talked about the only way not to break up a family is you keep them together and then you send them all back. I'm not certain he meant that with Dreamers, but what would happen to your family if you were sent back?
I mean, my family would face serious consequences. As I noted in my testimony, my wife is a U.S. citizen. Our entire family are U.S. citizens. Not only would this impact me on a personal level, but it would impact the U.S. citizens that have built their lives around me. U.S. citizens like my mother-in-law, who is legally disabled and has a brain tumor that requires her to take chemo in the United States. If my wife is not around to care for her, if my wife is not around to be there for her mother, it's going to cause serious hardship on her life and potentially cause her to lose her life. And also, my brother-in-law has been serving in the Marines since he graduated from high school. He wants to re-enlist in the Marines next year. However, he has to choose between the love for his country or the love for his mom and come back home and take care of his mom. So not only is this impacting me on a personal level, it's impacting the people around us that have built their life around me. I've been in this country for so long, and to think that you can just remove an individual who United States citizens have built their lives around would not cause hardship on other people around them, it's just disheartening.
Okay. Mr. Reichlin-Melnick, could you go through just one more time the statistics, and then I'm out of time here, on if the focus was on enforcement, as well as the border and going after the people that we know have criminal records here, just that kind of money we'd be talking about if we wanted to focus our efforts on that group, as well as I would add to that, it's also going to be more border protection, which we know we need.
Yes, Senator. So we estimate that on average, a single deportation costs the U.S. government in today's money slightly under $24,000. So if we're looking at deporting 13 million
No,
people,
I didn't
that
ask
adds
that
up to
question. I'm
hundreds of
actually
billions.
trying to get us to some reason, to a solution that might work here. Just I remember when you were talking to Senator Durbin, and you talked about if you focused on the group that we know have criminal records that are still out there, how that kind of cost and what that would be.
I have to run the exact numbers for you. I'm happy to get those for you, but it is substantially less expensive than what President Trump has repeatedly said he would do, which is aim to deport every single person here, regardless of whether they have a conviction or not.
Okay, but so if we could get that and follow up later, because I think that there'd be some widespread agreement that if we're going to start somewhere, for one thing, we must begin with these most serious offenders that are out there and get the money set aside for that, do more at the border, try to do something positive here with Dreamers and people that are contributing so greatly to our economy, and trying to figure this out. We have tried this several times and had agreements with Democrats and Republicans in the Senate. Not everyone on the left, right, not everyone, but I'm just hoping we can get to a place like that. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Senator Klobuchar. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Arthur, you are with the Center for Immigration Studies, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
And that's a nonpartisan think tank, is it?